Hello and welcome to the Imagine Crafts YouTube channel. My name is Lynn, or LV Handcrafted, here on YouTube, and today I'm starting off with a panel of watercolor paper, and I've spritzed it with just plain water, but that's just to kind of prevent the paper from curling too much. And then the effect I'm really going for is to spritz these panels with some fireworks sprays by Imagine Crafts. These are so highly pigmented. You just need a couple of spritz, and just depending on the look that you're going for, you don't really need much else. Also, it helps, that initial spray of water does also help to move some of the pigment around a little bit. So that also gives you a nice little watery effect. So a lot of this technique is just having a little bit of a play, seeing what looks you can create. And I'm just going to start off by making a few panels. Now, you do want to make sure that before you start spraying that you do shake your fireworks sprays a lot. Just anything that has settled to the bottom does kind of redistribute itself throughout the solution. And I think it's fun to use a couple of different colors to have some splatters, some very light areas, some very dark areas. And one thing I did also notice is that your inks, after you spray them, it can reactivate a little bit with more water. So initially, after I sprayed the green panel, I just went ahead and I started in on my next panel. And actually, when I spritzed it with that initial bit of water, it actually reactivate that green just a smidge, even though it was already dry. So be aware of that and make sure that you are working on a nice clean surface. I changed things up and I put a liner in this box. So it's actually on a just one of those shipping labels where I've used up all the labels. So I peeled up all the paper, and what I have is this nice slick to use, and I'm just ink smushing to just use all of that ink up. So this I found to be really helpful because then none of your spray has to go to waste. You can see I'm just picking up every last drop of that gorgeous pigmented color. And I'm creating this would be my last background panel just with all of that extra. So I definitely recommend using a box just to contain the mess, but also this liner sheet worked out really, really well. And also, if you are swapping between colors like I did from green to red, you could just give it a quick spritz and wipe it down and clean it off before you apply your next color. What I like to do whenever I'm making backgrounds like these is I like to just let it dry naturally, and that way it doesn't have any, sometimes you have those rings or those sort of water stains when you dry with a heat gun. So I just let this kind of soak in, let it dry, but then I'll go back and do some additional splatters. And what I'm going to do is actually mix in some of the sheer shimmer spray, and that's going to give it even more dimension because it'll give it a little bit of a sparkle as well. So all I did was just added a couple of droplets of the fireworks and then diluted that a little bit more with the sheer shimmer spray. And that allowed me to kind of just flick it right onto the panel, giving it some extra sparkle, some extra depth and dimension. And on this panel, I spritzed the whole panel with shimmer spray, which is really great because that shimmer spray, it's fairly translucent, so it's not going to add any color. Well, the one that I have, which is in Sparkle, it doesn't really add a color on top. It just makes everything really shiny and sparkly. So I love that. It's really gorgeous. Hard to really capture all of that shine on camera, but here are the 4 panels I made, and I will make really simple fun cards with them. So I'm bringing out my BetterPress, which I feel is a really fun way to make quick cards, but cards that are impressive as well. So I have found that BetterPress pretty much just about every line of inks that Sukaneko puts out works really well in the BetterPress. So even though you can get the specially made inks for this whole system, right now that range of color is and finishes that range is fairly limited, but I have found that the Delicata inks work really well. The Memento Luxe inks work really well. Versacolor works beautifully. The Dewdrop Versamagic inks work really well. Stays-on inks work beautifully. Encore inks, like everything, just about every line of ink that Sukaneko makes works gorgeous in the BetterPress. And I tested a lot of inks. I can't say the same for other brand inks out there by my own testing anyhow. So really love that. And this particular BetterPress plate I feel is really beautiful. It's understated. It's going to go really well for a little bit more of that subtle effect that I'm going for, where it just lets the background kind of shine. And so that's one of the things that I really love about when I make a panel like this. I don't like to add too much to it. And using a really simple design like this BetterPress plate is just the right touch. So I've got my sentiment. It's shaped as a tree, so it's a little bit of a focal image as well, especially given the size of it. And this way, the background panel and all of that beautiful work that we did with the shimmer spray and as well the fireworks sprays, it lets all of that really shine and come to life. So I will end up with 4 cards, and it's really simple. All I'm going to do is just glue these down to the card panels, and that's it. I'm not going to add any embellishments. I'm not going to do anything more to these. Really just quick, fun, simple cards. And if you're crafting to sell at a fair, or you just have a lot of cards you send out for the holidays, this is a really fun way to create something unique every time, because no 2 background panels will be the same. But it's also going to be fast and easy for you to make boatloads of these cards if that's what you need. So here's a final close-up look at all 4 cards. They kind of vary in degree of subtlety. So this one is very, very subtle. I wish I had like a darker ink, or maybe I lightened up the background a little bit more, just so that it's a little bit more legible, but I do love how subtle this card is, and it really just lets the whole background shine. This one I went with gold on top of that very vibrant red, pinkish red background. And this did end up being a lot more legible. So that turned out really beautifully. And then my final, I wish I'd done more green panels. This one turned out really well. So this was a mix of 2 fireworks sprays with gold. And the gold actually worked out really well because one of the greens has a very yellowy tint to it. So the gold just picks up on that yellow and it just matches beautifully. And all of the inks I used to BetterPress with were Delicata inks, which I love because they also add that bit of shimmer. Thanks so much for joining me on this one. I hope you enjoyed these cards. Until next time, happy crafting and have a fantastic day. Bye.